The Life Coaching Conference 2026 brings together expert coaches from diverse niches: mindset, leadership, transformation, motherhood transitions, confidence, spirituality, relationships, and self-worth. This platform is designed to share evidence-based coaching frameworks, offer clarity through real case studies, provide practical tools to navigate life's challenges, inspire personal and professional transformation. With voices of India's finest coaches under one roof, this conference aims to elevate the coaching industry and empower individuals to lead purposeful, emotionally intelligent, and resilient lives. Let me introduce first to Coach Soni Mudeshwar. Soni Mudeshwar is a life and leadership coach who empowers individuals to rise above self-doubt, emotional overwhelm, and limiting beliefs to step into a life of clarity, confidence, and purpose. With a unique blend of psychology, physiology, neuroscience, spirituality, quantum physics, management principles, and practical leadership tools, Soni guides people to build inner strength first so their outer life naturally transforms, whether in relationships, career, or personal well-being. Her coaching philosophy is rooted in 100% responsibility, emotional mastery, and the belief that every person has the power to create a calm, confident, and fulfilled version of themselves. As a leader with over 24 years of professional experience and deep passion for human transformation, Soni brings wisdom, compassion, and grounded leadership to every conversation. Her mission is simple yet powerful: to help people reconnect with their inner strength and lead their life from that strength. What is life coaching, Soni, and how different is it from therapy and counseling?
Thank you, Sujata, for the wonderful introduction. Seems like you have done enough research on my niche and myself, so thank you once again for that. You asked a very important question: what is life coaching and how different it is from therapy? Can I start with asking you one question? Is that allowed?
Yes.
So, Ms. Sujata, can I ask you, in your academics, have you ever been taught how to manage anger, how to manage anxiety, how to curtail our ego, how to manage stress? This was never a part of our academic, studies.
Absolutely.
So, do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
So, if you go by the book, okay, life coaching is a partnership between the coach and the client to bring about clarity, to resolve the current struggling situation that the client has, and then move ahead in life to achieve goals and to explore the immense potential that the client has within himself. Okay? But what I have seen in life coaching, in my journey of life coaching, that it is not that simple. So that's why I define life coaching as a blend of psychology, philosophy, quantum physics, spirituality, principles of business management, and all these blend we actually apply in the client's life to make sure that the current issue is resolved 100%. The client gets a clarity of his future, what I want to do in life. In management, we do something called as a SWOT analysis, okay, where the business understands what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities, what are the threats. The same principle we apply in client's life. And then the client himself realizes, oh my God, these are so many things I can do in life. You know? Whatever the client wants to achieve in his or her own life, we make a roadmap for that. And accordingly, the client will take an action and move forward. So let me explain briefly about now suppose psychology. Let us take one example. The session is called 100% responsibility, which states that my emotions, our emotions are actually not controlled by the situations of people around us. We should take control of our own emotions. The remote control of our emotions should be in our hand. So what I say is that what I eat, what I wear, and how I feel, I decide. So in psychology, in 100% responsibility, there is something called as locus of control. They have seen that successful people all over the world, when they were asked what makes you successful, they say we don't get affected by situations of people around us. We are in control of our emotions. Okay? In spirituality, what they teach us is that we should not take things personally. Like suppose a person gets angry at me, does not mean I should also get angry at that person. Okay? So that's what spirituality teaches. Quantum physics. What quantum physics takes 100% responsibility, that whatever we think constantly, that we become. So if somebody hurts me, and I keep creating thoughts, I am hurt, this one told like, this one that, I will attract more and more people who are going to hurt me. Okay? So this is how, and philosophy we use a lot to give metaphors. Okay? So that's where philosophy comes into picture. Because the human mind understands metaphors much better than the theory. If I read a definition, people will not understand. But if I give a metaphor, oh yeah, you know, exactly. So that's why it's a blend of all these sciences put together to uplift a human life. Okay? And your second question, how different is from therapy or counseling?
Yeah.
There is a lot of confusion there. So with all due respect, the psychiatrists and the psychologists are definitely important when a person has a clinical problem. Okay, the patient has clinical depression, bipolar disorder, or schizophrenia. In those cases, life coaching can be taken as an adjunct, but this cannot be a primary line of treatment.
Oh.
And therapy and counseling, what we do, we deal with the past of the person. Okay, so what happens? Our emotions are basically because of our upbringing, the way we interpret situations in our life. You know, what was the circumstances, what was the social environment that have grown up. All that affects our mind, and then we are not able to take care of our emotions, and then we have this clinical manifestation in form of mental health problem. But in life coaching, we look at the future of that person, not the past. Of course, we heal the past, how to think, how to take care of the emotions, but that forms the first 3 or 4 sessions. After that, we tell the client that you have to start goal setting. So what is your goal for your personal life, social life, your financial life, your career, your spiritual life? Because we consider these are the pillars of a human life. Personal life, family life, social life, spiritual life, financial life, academics, and career. So okay? And we chalk out a very actionable plan considering the resources that the client has.
Okay.
You know, my client is from a lower middle class family who doesn't have a gym. I cannot tell the client to go to the gym and pay 10,000 rupees. So within the resources that the client has, we draw action plan. And then life coaching also has a very broad umbrella. So we use techniques of visualization, manifestation, and forming a vision board. These are all the things. This is not therapy. Okay? I'll give you an example. For example, Sachin Tendulkar is the best cricketer in the world, definitely.
Right.
Now he has a coach for cricket. Now do you think that that cricket coach is giving therapy to the coaching, or he is enhancing his game?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So that's coaching is going to enhance your life.
Okay.
Give you a roadmap, give you clarity in life. There are so many clients who feel we never realize we have so much potential in us. We will train them for stage fear, communication skills, how to express yourself without offending others. So there are various aspects of a human life, and that's the reason we need a blend of so many sciences, because the human mind is very complex. It's not simple that you give one paradigm to everybody.
Exactly.
So I hope I am able to clarify the therapy and the life coaching part of it. And then there is taking action, the last session, where we chalk out the complete life of that person.
Okay.
So in the next 50 years, what are you going to do? What are your short term, long term? And the coach walks hand in hand with the client. It's not like the doctor gives medicine and then you go after week. No. So we walk hand in hand, make sure that the client can stick to the action plan that he or she has decided. So
Beautiful.
that's the difference.
Beautiful. Like you have explained it very well. Now people will know what is life coach because people have confusion about life coach. Many people do not understand. See, I'm coming from a sports background. When I say I'm a life coach, people think that I'm going to teach swimming, or someone feels that life coach means they think that something about life insurance. So there are so many things people come up. So Sony, you have explained it beautifully. I think now people understand what life coaching is.
Thank you.
So can we move on to the next question? So what is leadership coaching, Sony?
So my niche is life coaching for leadership transformation. Have you heard the phrase that people leave bad managers and not companies? Have you heard it? Yes. You know? But what I say is, there are no bad managers. You know, emotional training is a missing link which converts the boss into the leader. Because what happens is, whenever a senior or a manager or your boss or any team leader, the person carries with him a lot of emotional baggage. You know, no, as I said, nobody has trained him how to manage anger. Nobody has trained her how to manage ego. Nobody has trained her how to manage stress. It's not their fault because the training has not been there. Okay? And to make decisions, to manage a team, a complex team, you need a very calm mind. The first step is a calm mind, then comes everything else. And to calm the mind itself is a big thing. It's not as simple as that.
Exactly.
Okay? And for that you need a life coach. So when the leader becomes calm, when the leader is able to process his or her emotions, then he knows to take the right decision. The team is happy. Boss is happy, the team is happy.
Yeah.
Not boss, leader. First it starts with me. I have to take responsibility. And error happens. If I as a manager is in emotional turmoil, oh my god, now the management is going to ask me questions. What about my position? You know, my efficiency will be questioned because my team member made a mistake. That's the boss mentality. But a leader knows how to calm down. First I say calm down. Calm down. Errors happen. Humans are meant to make error. I tell my team member, don't worry, I will take care of it. So I relax that team member to carry on the work so that the day work is not spoiled. I calm myself and explain to the management, this and this happened. And now because my mind is calm, I do something called as CAPA. What is management CAPA term is corrective and preventive action. So error has happened, I will take corrective action. Also I will make sure it will not happen again. And the management says, okay fine, you know you have a clarity. But if I'm not able to manage that anger, I'm going to blast at that team member. Entire day of that team is going to get spoiled because he's going to tell people, boss, mujhe aise bula, he's going to cry or whatever.
True.
So you see, emotional mastery is so important. And it's not going to happen overnight. For that you need complete 8 sessions of life coaching. That is a foundation course. And then of course it's like how to hold meetings, how to do crisis management, how to do corrective and preventive actions, SWOT analysis, person analysis, what are the leadership style, understanding your own leadership style, gap analysis. So these are all huge, lot of business management principles that we apply to a human life to bring about the transformation. So that's what is life coaching for leadership transformation.
That's so beautifully explained about leadership coaching. So
Thank you.
It's very clear. Thank you so much. Let's move on to Now we move on to Coach Abhilasha Motwani. Abhilasha is the founder of Skyora and to the mindset and confidence coach who has spent her life understanding people not just professionally but emotionally. She brings with her over 3 decades of experience in the flying industry with Cathay Pacific Airways. During her years in the skies, she met people from all walks of life, different cultures, different struggles, different stories. And somewhere along the journey, something very natural happened. People naturally began opening up to her. They shared their fears, their self-doubt, their moments of uncertainty. Without even realizing it at first, Abhilasha became someone people leaned on for clarity, reassurance, and confidence. That clarity eventually shaped the work she does today, especially with single mothers who are navigating life after divorce and trying to rediscover who they are. Through Skyola, Abhilasha helps women rebuild confidence gently, honestly, and without pressure, one step at a time. Abhilasha, many single mothers silently battle self doubt and feel their confidence has taken a hit. What is the first mindset shift you guide them through that helps them reclaim their self respect and inner power?
Sujata, it's a very good question and a very important question in today's world, because I have noticed that a lot of single mothers, they actually fight their own battles inside. They're unable to bring out their weaknesses, their traumas, and they keep piling it up. And as time goes by, it only makes matters worse. So in that situation, what we need to do is we need to help them to have a very first mindset is what is actually bothering them. We need to ask them to speak out, because speaking out first brings out the trauma, because the hidden trauma is deep inside. The wounds need to be expressed first so that they have a clarity of what actually they are looking for. So their confidence level needs to be come up, because when a woman is divorced, she actually doesn't just go through a divorce. She starts doubting herself. Her mindset is completely at a different level. She starts losing faith. She starts believing other people telling her certain things. She starts feeling that people are judging her just because she has taken the brave step of getting a divorce. But divorce is not something that needs to be compromised at a certain level. When you realize that things are not in your place, then that is the time that you need to step up for your own self and for the sake of your children. So that is the very first thing I tell them is speak out what you have in mind. Stop blaming yourself and start praising yourself. Because once you stop blaming yourself, you automatically come to that level where you understand yourself better than anybody else. And if you are in a situation where you're calm and subtle, I think you can take care of your children. For every single mother, I always praise them for the efforts they do. There are so many times that they are in a state of mind where they don't want to do something, but they have to. So when I always tell them, you have to change your mindset from I have to I choose to. When you say I choose to, that means you're happy. I choose to cook for my son today, though I'm very tired, I'm sick, I'm sleepy, but still in that frame of mind, you still make an effort to get up. So these are the small mindsets that I help my clients to deal with. It takes a lot of effort from them because they are completely emotionally broken, but slowly and gradually they come out of it. They stand taller, they start to believing in themselves, and once they believe in themselves, they're already on the road to progress and confidence. Yeah. So I think that is the most important thing in today's world.
Wow, what a beautiful way of saying choose to, and so if you like something and you do something, you really can do wonders in whatever you are doing it. Very nice, Abhilasha. Can I move to the second question?
Yes.
You work deeply with single mothers who carry emotional, financial, and social pressure all at once. What simple daily practice do you teach that helps them rebuild confidence and trust in themselves one step at a time?
Relating to the previous answer that I had given earlier, this is in collaboration with that. So what happens is when they start getting confidence and the first step that they do is they say, I choose to instead of I have to. That breaks the barrier in their mind already. After that, I tell them to reflect in the night and say to yourself, what did I actually show up for today? What was the choices I made? They were very hard decisions at certain moments, but they still chose to do it. So that is one mindset I say. And the second thing I tell them is in the night, give yourself 5 minutes. Take a deep breath. Praise yourself and say, I am brave. I did it today. And I have done a great job today. That, the psychological mindset of a person calms you down automatically. Because you are in a panic state, you are a single mother, you have responsibilities of cooking, financial stress, you have the pressure of taking care of your older parents at home, your siblings, and all this kind of piles up together. So when you calm down, you start analyzing things at a better level. So I tell them, go to the mirror, look at yourself and pat yourself saying, I did a good job today and I'm proud of myself.
Wow.
When you say that, I'm proud of myself, your brain, your mind
Yes.
praises you automatically, because if we wait for other people to praise us, and that doesn't happen. We have to wait, we don't have to wait for acknowledgement from somebody else, but we have to wait for ourselves. We have to take the step by ourselves, because we ourselves are who we are today. You make yourself so that you are making your children also a better person. If you are in a distressed state of mind, you will not be able to help your children because you are so disturbed. So this is what I tell them, very little small steps, and at the end of 2 to 3 weeks, you can see them standing taller, believing in themselves more than anybody else. And as you rightly said, Soni, that we are just here to guide them to a path. We are not here to channelize their lives. They need to tell us what they're looking for, and we will guide them in which path they would like to choose. So we put the table in front of them and we ask them to make a decision. And I think the single women nowadays are very strong. They are taking full responsibility of supporting themselves and their families and their fathers too.
Fantastic. I'm proud of myself. I'm feeling so proud. I'm feeling so calm today. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying this and giving us the thing. Thank you.
Thank you,
I would like to
Sujata.
add, Sujata, that's what I totally agree with Coach Abhilasha, that the mirror exercise, So when I ask my clients, have you ever appreciated yourself?
Mm.
And they were like, what does that mean?
Yes.
That much is ignorance.
Yeah.
I said, the inner child, your soul, has supported you for 40 years. Have you ever thanked that child?
Mm.
How do you talk to your child? Very politely, very nicely.
Yeah.
Nahi beta, koi baat nahi. When you make a mistake, how do you talk to yourself? So I say, henceforth you have 2 children to take care. One is your inner child and one is your child. So take care of 2 children and your life will be fine.
You
That's
know,
why-
and also, we always expect others to praise us,
Yes.
and we never think that we can appreciate ourselves, we can appraise ourselves. If this we do it, how happy we can feel with ourselves, and we don't need to expect from others. There will be no expectation that others are praising. You can live for yourself. Yeah, this is a very good thing that you have cleared. Yeah, and we have to, everybody should practice this.
Because
Yeah.
it doesn't only change anything outside. Inner self needs to
Yeah.
be changed first.
Yeah,
Inner child has to be.
yeah, yeah.
Yourself has to be healed, because once you heal, you can take care, you can give so much more to your child.
Yes,
Definitely.
Because your
exactly.
mindset is at ease, you are at peace, your confidence level is higher because you're believing in yourself.
Exactly.
You don't need to rely on anyone else to give you validation. So that is a very important aspect, is self-confidence.
Self-confidence.
And self-confidence not on the outside. Of course we dress up well, we wear good clothes, we smile. But how you are inside projects a lot on what you are outside.
Exactly, definitely. Yes.
So, yeah, thank you, Sujata. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's so lovely to talk to all the wonderful coaches from around everywhere.
With this calmness in our mind, let's move on to Pragya. The coach Pragya, a happiness and spiritual coach, founder of Happy Quest and author of 60 Tiny Shifts. One new you, one micro change at a time. With 18 plus years of corporate wisdom and a passion for guiding souls to discover their true potential, she brings transformative micro shifts to everything she teaches. She empowers women entrepreneurs, mid-career professionals, and wellness seekers to break free from limiting beliefs, burnout, and inner chaos. Her approach blends mindfulness, goal setting, and spiritual alignment. She helps people reclaim clarity, unshakable confidence, and joyful, lasting energy. Pragya, in a world filled with stress and compassion, how can everyday people reconnect with their inner spiritual grounding so that positivity becomes a natural state and not something forced?
Yes. Thank you so much, Sujata. And it is lovely to have the fellow coaches and the summit that we are having, and where we're talking about life coaching and why everybody should have a life coach. So, coming to the answer, we all know that in life positivity is important and awareness is very much important, and that why is it important? To kill the self-doubt, the comparison that happens in today's world because of the workspace that we are working in, or because of the personal turmoils that everybody goes through in their life. Like Coach Soni mentioned that inner child needs to heal. So coming to the same point, I feel that the negative emotions that come to our mind, they come only because of self-doubt. And how to deal with the self-doubt? Through what is the spiritual angle to it? Once the awareness happens within, like I know myself, no matter what the other person talks about me or tells about myself, I have confidence in myself that I will be able to complete some task, or I'll be able to deal with the life in a go. So that confidence, inner confidence is very important, and I feel the grounding, spiritual grounding that is needed to get this done. There are some tools that I'll talk about. So we all know that exercise is important in our life.
Yeah.
We all know that remaining fit and healthy and physically we should move around a lot. But how many of us really do it? So my request to everybody who is listening to this would be that please start walking daily at least 30 minutes. That is the first step towards awareness. Your body needs to be aware about surroundings, and nature, being in the company of nature is the best healer. So we all know grounding is important. Please walk barefoot as much as possible. Do not, we all have these fancy shoes that we like to brag about.
Yeah.
But the best shoes that we have are 2 legs.
Yeah.
Let's utilize them to the best. So grounding is what I would recommend. Second thing, as Soni mentioned, I would request everybody to do the mirror exercise. Knowing oneself, loving oneself is the prime thing which anybody, anywhere you go in spiritual space, to any guru, anywhere, they will ask you to do one thing, which is knowing yourself. Just sit quietly in the morning. Please do not use mobile in the morning for 1 hour at least once you wake up. That would be a request to all. And what you do is, you sit for 5 minutes, close your eyes, and just ask yourself one question. What am I right now? Who am I right now? The work that I am doing right now, is it aligned to the goals that I have in my life? The step that I am taking in the morning, the breath that I am taking in the morning, is it taking me towards my goal? So once that clarity happens, the inner grounding happens. The positivity comes up very easily. And breath work and meditation is something that I recommend to all my clients. If you know meditation, well and good. If you don't know meditation, still sit 5 minutes peacefully with yourself, just observing your body. That's it. And that would be the fantastic start for it. So staying positive in life is very important, as we all know, and these are some of the tools. The last tool that I would like to share is, please do journaling. I would recommend everybody to write at least 3 things that you feel blessed about in the day. Journaling and writing about what am I thankful for, or gratitude notes, is very, very important. The reason is, if we are here on this earth, we have come on this earth with a purpose. Everybody has their own purpose, and everybody knows what to do in life. They have their own goals. How to align yourself to the goal, or how to align from inside towards the goal, the best way to align is to know yourself first and foremost. Be aware about what are your patterns. Be aware about what are the shortcomings. Be aware about what are the fantastic things that I have. What are my skills? So once this awareness develops, the confidence boosts up, and then peace comes very naturally. So that is what I feel.
Very beautifully explained, Pragya, Coach Pragya. And I also want to ask you, I want to tell you that we have so much in abundance and we don't notice any of this, and we expect that we need to get something else. But unless you write something like how you explain beautifully journaling, so when we start writing what we have, and when we start appreciating that and we start thanking for what we have, then I think it would be very easy for everyone to go about and to notice what we have actually. So that's a very beautiful. And also, can you tell me what is breath walk?
Okay, breath work you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so by breath work, it is very simple. Okay, when you breathe in for a count of 4, with a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You breathe in.
Okay.
You hold your breath till the count of 8,
Hmm.
so that your lungs also stay very healthy, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So you hold the breath for 8, count of 8.
Hmm.
Then you release it through your mouth.
Okay.
You release the breath at the count of 6
Okay.
or 8,
Okay.
whatever feels comfortable to you.
Okay.
So you breathe in 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold the breath, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
And then you
Release.
release it through your mouth.
That is 8
That
times
creates, 8 times. That creates an immediate calming effect on your nerves.
Beautiful.
It sends signals to your brain to tune in to the surroundings. Sometimes it happens that we are here, I'm working here on the desk, but my mind is somewhere else.
Beautiful.
I'm not working with my fullest capacity that I should.
Beautiful.
And that creates issues a lot of times. So how to do that? This simple 5 minutes of breath work between your working hours, they have wonderful results.
Very beautiful. Like this can be helpful for the school children when they are giving exams, when they are under pressure. Nowadays everybody are under pressures in the office work. In the office, people are so much under stress, right? You all agree. So I think we should introduce all this to everyone. Everyone should do all the breath work every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to add to what Pragya said. Pragya will
Yes,
agree
ma'am.
also, because I have studied neuroscience and quantum physics also. Regarding journaling, now they say that journaling actually rewires your brain.
Yeah, that since there is evidences to it,
Yeah,
right?
there is evidence that practicing gratitude releases oxytocin, which is a feel-good hormone in your body. So now we are linking our thoughts to the hormones that are released in our body. And there's a big study how every thought, what chemicals are released in the body when you get angry.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what Pragya is saying is exactly true. Like the breathing work also has huge science behind it. Correct. So everything that is taught in life coaching is science backed. There is nothing guesswork.
Yeah.
There is no guesswork. It's pure science that. And what I agree with Pragya also is that, see, we all know we should walk. Okay? But what happens when you have a coach? You have an accountability partner.
Oh.
You know the coach is going to ask next day, 15 minute walking kiya ki nahi kiya?
Correct.
That's where the change happens.
Yes.
So it's the accountability which works.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Agree, Soni. Lovely. Yes.
With this, can we move to other questions, Coach Ramya?
Yeah.
You guide people to shift from negative thinking to higher vibration living. What are the most common emotional blocks you see? And what simple spiritual or positive practices can instantly elevate a person's energy?
The most common blocks that I see are of comparison, are of running in a race where they don't know what they want to achieve also sometimes. So there is lack of clarity is what I feel. Clarity brings the shift in our life which takes us towards the peaceful, whatever life goal that I have, I want to achieve, it takes me towards that. I see there's a lot of confusion and there are too many things that people want to do at a go. So at a time, I want to do 5 things. Now I don't know in those 5 things also how much effort am I going to put where. 20% डालना है, 30% डालना है, 10% वो भी नहीं पता है. So that there is where our role comes as a life coach.
Nice.
So we give them tools and we show them the direction as to how to bring clarity, and there are some exercises that we do. There are passion tests that we do. There are joy exercises that we do.
Wow.
So we know what is a hobby. We know what is going to be our profession,
Oh.
and we know what is the comfort factor where relationships are of prime importance. So I think having clarity is of prime importance, and that is what life coaching does. Plus now we spoke about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. So how do we do that, or how do I guide my clients? The first thing I tell them is declutter your mind.
Exactly. That's
Declutter your space. Whatever is necessary, whatever is your need, let it come in your life easily. Spot it with ease. If you pull things, if you push things, then it's going to create a problem somewhere. The ripple effect has to happen. So that ripple effect, let it be positive. Why to invite negativity, right? So I recommend my clients, I give them this exercise to declutter. I start with the space part. के cupboard को साफ करो.
Yeah, you know that.
So
Yeah.
you first
First
manage your
manage.
desk, and then once you know,
Yeah.
then you at least your mind gets those signals.
Yeah.
So everything is science based, as Sony also mentioned. So decluttering helps in getting clarity. Then second thing, what I normally recommend them to do is to start writing, because not everybody is habitual of writing. They feel, some of my clients feel it like a task, like a kid. कि आप बच्चे को बिठा के बोलते हो कि नहीं आपको लिखना है, आपको लिखना ही है. So why is it happening? I mean, why are we telling our kids to write? Because it is sending those signals to our brain,
Yeah.
and it is creating an impression in your heart also that this is what I can do. So why not write 3 good things about yourself before you go to bed? Fantastic way to keep your mind at peace and sleep peacefully. People are taking sleeping pills. People are not able to sleep also. And there are clients who are earning in lakhs and crores, but the mental health is affected. And this is not a very great problem. It is something which can be turned around. It is something which can be changed just by taking few sessions, or just by engaging with a life coach and giving us that opportunity to guide you and take you through the next phase of your life, I would say. So writing is important, is what I feel. It gives a lot of clarity.
So true.
Yeah.
So I feel like in old schools, like how we used to make, our teachers used to make us to write in
Yeah.
positions, write 10 times, write 20 times, write 30 times.
Correct.
Why? Because it goes into our mind, it sits into our mind. It's like a photogenic, like you can anytime you can get out, it won't get deleted. There's nothing, like once it is there in your mind, you can't, no system can delete that.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very good thing that you have told that writing is the best way, so that we can learn and we can remember the things actually.
Right.
If you write
Right.
something, and we can write so many things and we can learn so many things. It's a very good way that the clarity and the clarity and the passion, the joy, we should know, we should identify what is passion, what is joy in our life, then the life goes very easily.
Yeah, I would end it with one last note
Yeah.
before we shift. I would recommend everybody to do something that makes the person happy, be it travel, be it reading, be it going for a walk alone, be it having a nice close conversation with your dear friend, or be it going and hugging your son or your daughter, be it anything that gives you joy,
Yeah.
please do not think too much, please do it. Just go for it. Because the comfort of every person is different. Like the definition of comfort is different. What I would find comfortable, somebody might feel awkward about it. So you never know. So your comfort, you have to choose what it is and spend your time on your hobbies. We all know that we need to earn. We all know that we are here to make a sustainable lifestyle and reach our goals. But behind behind running behind those goals, do not take your life for a ride, or do not take your joys to the back seat. Keep your joys to the back seat, and on the front seat you are just running. Know why you are running, and that is important.
Beautiful approach, Pragya.
I would like to add,
Yeah.
Coach Sujata, as to Pragya regarding journaling.
Hmm.
So I always tell my client, they feel very bored, they don't do it. I know that. So I ask them, I give them a metaphor.
Hmm.
I said 2 into 2 is how much? 4. Then 3 into 10, 30.
Hmm.
4 into 2, 8. Yeah.
Hmm.
I said 495 into 595, how much is it really?
Calculator.
I said, see, if you cannot solve a multiplication without writing on the paper,
Yeah.
I said, now write on the paper, within 2 minutes gets solved. I said, if you
Yeah.
cannot solve a small multiplication, you think you can solve life problem without writing? You cannot do it.
Wonderful.
And they're like, oh, I understand now, I'll do it tomorrow. So you see how metaphors work in life,
Yeah.
coaches.
Even if we ask them to write something, they will not pen it down. They will think, okay, I will have it in mind, but you'll forget it after a day or after 2 days. So whatever the information we are getting, just write it down so that it will be ever remind in our wherever, whatever you are learning, whatever you are looking in the watching TV or something. Somebody is teaching you something, just write it down, the points which you like it, then it will remain in your heart forever, in your mind forever. Very good, Pragya.
Thank you.
Really cleared everything. Let's move on to Coach Shweta Batra. She's a life and mindset coach. Shweta Batra, a life and mindset coach who works closely with educators, the true nation builders of our society. With our 2 decades of experience in our education, Shweta's journey has evolved from the classroom to leadership and from understanding the mind to empowering meaningful change. Her work spans coaching, teaching, educational leadership, training and mentoring educators, academic guidance and authorship. This breadth of experience brings a rare depth of insight into both the minds that teach and the lives they shape. Recognized internationally with a world record from World Book of Records, London, and honored with the Inspiring Women Psychologist Award 2025. Shweta's work reflects purpose, impact, and transformation. Currently, she focuses on inspiring transformative growth with clarity, compassion, and confidence, supporting educators to thrive and not just survive in their professional and personal life. I'll ask you a question, Shweta Batra. As a life and mindset coach working closely with teachers, school leaders, parents, and the wider school community, what are you noticing right now about the pressures they face and how connected they feel to their purpose within the education system?
Hello everyone, and thank you for giving me the time and the question. I would like to first draw your attention or everyone's attention to the fact that how you read in my introduction that I'm dealing with nation builders, and that's my kind of an ice-breaking and an energizing piece of information that I share with my teachers whenever I take a workshop, that I always greet them as nation builders. And when we say those words, it is really empowering and very energizing because they are doing it day in and day out. While answering your question, I always like to relate my explanations to some real time or real life thing. I would want you all to believe or imagine a scenario where you are just kind of sitting and your maid calls and tells you that she isn't coming. Your cook as it is on leave, and you're having some 15 guests who are walking into your house in maybe next 2 hours. You do not have any support system, you are alone at home, you have to cater to 15 people at home. You have to obviously prepare the lunch, and then again when we talk of guests, there are some who are veg, non-veg, who want tea, who want sugar-free tea, who want sugar-less tea, and somebody wants brown sugar, and somebody wants vegan. So you have to cater to all those things, and you have started imagining your situation.
Yeah.
Already
Yeah,
stressed?
yeah.
Okay, now I tell you that this is going to happen for the next 15 days in your life.
Oh God.
And yeah, that's where we go. We are already remembering. So what is happening is we are in continuous movement, continuous workload. There is a lot that is happening. You're working, not that you are not capable
Yeah.
of. You are capable
Yeah.
of. You know how to cook food, but it is too overwhelming.
Yeah.
So when we look at today's scenario, if I talk about any working professional, or in particular about the education industry, each one is doing a lot. They are managing too many responsibilities. Now to begin with, if I start from the teacher's point of view, they are having the maximum workload. Why I say so is the challenge is that they have to go to a classroom which could be anything from 25 to 50 or 60 depending on where they are working. Teaching is or school setup is one setup where machines haven't encroached that area as much as other operating levels.
Right.
So your interaction is absolutely always with human beings at every level.
Right.
So having said that, dealing with and trying to become a facilitator to students who are coming from various backgrounds, have a different mindset, dealing with them is a very humanist child. But what we say is, okay, the teachers in class. That is a very small statement to say because she is doing a lot more there. Coming upon to the ever-evolving curriculum. Of course, it is being in the profession, it is learning, unlearning and relearning. It's great to keep abreast of things, but that's a task. Again, when they have a lot of administrative duties. There is always during, Teachers' Day, there is this WhatsApp that floats in and there is an endless list. And I can assure you, nobody reads that message till the end because there's an exhaustive list of duties that a teacher does. She does maximum, she does any kind of duties which are there and it's a normal thing which happens. I'm only talking about the profile of the work. Apart from that, then there is obviously other duties that she's doing, and maximum most complicated is catering to the emotional needs of the students. Because if learning has to happen, the child has to be emotionally responsive to get into the learning part of whatever is being taught. Having said that, I remember I met a teacher, she's my client, and she said that, Shweta, you know what, I love teaching and that's why I'm here, but somehow I have stopped enjoying it. So it was not that she was missing on to the passion. She's been a teacher for 15 years. But the fact is that she has not got the time. Imagine yourself, if you are working 15 days continuously, catering to 15 guests, how exhausting it is. This has been where there is no time to reflect, to recalibrate. So this is the scenario. When we talk about the school leaders, they have again a very huge responsibility of so many students, building their teams, getting their teams to work. We have this 100% school results that are such a big, responsibility. We have been the best school in the nation or best school in the area around, and there are several other things that are happening. So they also are all the time in a mode of movement, doing a lot. In fact, maximum of the people here are working at the edge of the capacity. And just because you are a competent leader, the expectations are even higher. It's as if they can never lose or run out of their capacity. Again, I come to the next stakeholders who will be the parents. So parents are somebody who are having a product without a manual. So that becomes very difficult. And a child learns to operate a mobile very easily without a manual.
Right.
But that's not the same with when a parent has to deal with the child. Because every age has its own, demands and the responses from the parents has to change and alter accordingly. So having said that, and plus blessed are the people who are having multiple children, so at every time they are dealing with different age groups. Having said that, everyone is also having a struggle within because nobody feels complete. So if we go to look at this, I'm not even going to talk about the children right now. So I only talk about the parents and the students, I mean teachers and the school leaders. There is a lot that they are doing. Everyone is in momentum, but it is not intentional. It's like we are grappling, we are surviving. But through coaching is something where one can learn to thrive, have that purposeful kind of a living. So this is where I believe, I guess I have answered your question.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
How about you, Sonny? What do you say about it?
We always talk about teachers, but after talking to Coach
Yeah.
Shweta Batra, I understand the volume of work
Yeah.
or the stress they undergo. We always feel only doctors are the one, or one profession has too much stress. But we understand the stress that. And another thing is the Coach Shweta. Now there are counselors in the school, but I think they're only for the students, right?
No, they are open to the staff as well.
Staff as well, okay.
But again, that is when a person approaches is when he is at a breakdown stage, when he is unable to cope up. My point is having a life coach in life, of taking up some coaching system enables you to live a more purposeful life. Like that teacher whom I was coaching, she's been in the industry for 15 years, and through coaching she herself started enjoying eventually, and she realized why she was there. She got back to it, she recalibrated herself.
Wow.
And again, she's back to that, and she's ever so thankful to me. Whenever I cross paths, she's always there to say, she's the one who brought me back, and I really enjoy and look forward to go to school every single day again. Somewhere it had got lost. Somewhere you lose purpose. So that is something like regaining yourself. And absolutely, I guess, if I talk about education, the prime objective of education is to have happy children.
Yeah.
So when we say happy children, that happiness shouldn't be left out when we are a child. It should continue till we grow. So basically, it's a happy living, and happy living happens when we are living to the fullest, living it purposefully, and living in the way we want to. That's where we come into it and try to enhance that
Wow,
happiness.
very nice. See, when teachers are satisfied, when teachers are happy, so we can imagine how children can be happy and how can we build the nation. Yeah.
And that's what Sujata, I think, one thing also I agree with Coach Shweta is that we ask for help only when we feel it's a breakdown.
Yeah.
We have hit a rock bottom. Okay? But why do we need to hit the rock bottom? Okay? And another thing is that, see, for day-to-day problems, like I had a coach or a client, she had differences with a mother-in-law. Now that issue, a psychiatrist or psychologist cannot solve. Because she went to a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist said, no, I don't think so, you have any, ये तो हर घर में होता है. So are we going to continue that turmoil from generation, or are we going to put a break? So that's where the life coach comes into the picture. It's the bridge between your struggles and the psychiatrist. So life coach stands in the middle. So you don't need to land up going to the psychiatrist or the psychologist. I think that's where the life coach comes into.
Absolutely.
I'd just like to add one thing.
So we all know that we operate on a auto system mode. Auto mode में operate करते हैं हम सब लोग. And what coach mentioned right now was even teachers are operating in that auto mode. But for many it has become a stressful mode. So how to change it to the happy mode? And I think changing that, the quotient of auto mode से auto mode में happiness लेके आना is the role of a life coach. That be it anything, we are earning money or we are doing anything, our goal is happiness. So if happiness has to be achieved, the tools and techniques that are given by the coach has to go in auto mode. जितना ऑटो मोड में जाएगा उतना ब्यूटीफुली चीज़ें बाहर भी आएगी.
Yes.
And
And I had, sorry.
And also, Shweta, who are school leaders? Who are they? School leaders means like, can you specify?
The principals
Okay,
or the headmistress,
Okay.
coordinators.
okay, oh, so, good then. So, that's a good one. Yeah, Shweta, sorry, can you?
So Pragya was telling about the autopilot mode
Yeah,
that we are on.
yeah.
So yesterday I was talking to my coachee and my client was telling, I'm a perfectionist. What can I do about it?
Huh,
I said, why are you bothered? You're a perfectionist.
huh.
The problem is not that you're a perfectionist.
Hmm.
The problem is you have to be a happy perfectionist, not a sad perfectionist. So she was like, yeah. I said, are you happy being a perfectionist?
Huh.
No, everything just bothers me so
Oh.
much. Even if the glass is kept this way, I don't like it.
Oh my God.
I said, you're a
Sad.
tensed perfectionist. So you just need to be a happy perfectionist. That's it. Be happy.
Change to
You know,
that.
that you will keep the table or your house so clean. You should be happy rather than
Yeah.
beating yourself. Why are you beating yourself?
Yeah.
So you see, that's what I feel like. Do whatever you want, but
Yeah.
be a happy perfectionist. Why you want to be a tensed perfectionist?
So like
And
how
she-
she has told me like have to and choose to.
Choose to.
Yeah. So if you choose to, then you will not feel dissatisfied.
But with that one, she was like, oh my god, yeah, now I agree with you. Why am I beating myself so much?
With that, can we go to the other question with Coach Shweta? Student success starts with the adults guiding them. How important is it for teachers, school leaders, and parents to shift their mindset and embrace life coaching in order to lead with purpose and create meaningful impact?
Again, I like to answer metaphorically. Think of a classroom as a garden, and the children are the seeds.
Mm.
And what this seed need is the soil and sunlight and water. And assuming that the teachers and the school leaders are the sunlight, water. Now imagine the seeds are being sown and the sunlight is inconsistent. The soil is in depleted condition. There is no water provided. What will happen? The seeds may grow, but they'll never flourish. So this is where I believe that life coaching is something is like coaching helps to enrich that soil so that it can nurture the seeds. Likewise, coaching can enrich the stakeholders where they can beautifully nurture the children. And again, when I say it should not happen ki, okay, if some teacher or some leader is approaching me, that means they are incapable or incapacitated. No, this should not be and should not be treated as a personal failure. It is somewhere where you are being aware, because being aware is the first step to take action. So only when we are aware that there is something that we need to do to improve our capacities, to be happy where we are, we need to come forward to resolve it. It's all about that. Does not mean it's a personal failure. That's something where where it is obviously sometimes thought of, there's something wrong. You are going to a counselor, and if you are going to a counselor, there is something wrong. It's not that way. Likewise, when you are seeking the help of a coach, does not mean there's something wrong. It is something that is right, and you want to make it further beautiful. Right? So now, if I talk about the teachers, like when I sit with my clients who are teachers, I give them that kind of a space where they are, watching their stress patterns. They are able to, because through proper questioning is what we do. It's deep-rooted questioning that we go with. That's our style. They get to, actually self-assess their own stress patterns. What is their inner dialogue, their inner narration with themselves. Those belief systems that they have been carrying. And through coaching, they are able to, kind of regulate their emotional responses. They are able to set realistic boundaries. And this gives them the path to inner connection. Once there is an inner clarity and they are connected to their motive or purpose, there is a lot of ease. And with that ease and clarity, when they enter the class, they are more compassionate towards the students, they are more creative in their processes, and there is where the beautiful transformation happens in children.
Beautiful.
Likewise, there is also a case where I had principals, some leaders working, and I've been working with them for as a coach. So here, what happens is that we need to reflect upon the existing way that one has been leading, and it's often a reactive leadership. Huge growth, this is there, and let's do it. The point here is that we kind of move them, or kind of walk them through to shift paths, shift mindset towards becoming more of an intentional person, take more informed decisions, make more value-based decisions. What happens is when you do this, you are emotionally again at ease, and emotional stability really transmits into the school culture. And all of a sudden there is a lot of compassion, there is an open room for communication, and this leads to sustainable development in the school. So all the corners of the school, like once the leader is in that kind of a clarity and that kind of a level of emotional rational, it automatically translates to every other level, and there is much better environment inside the school. There was a principal whom I worked with, and she was saying that you can't imagine, I feel I am putting out fires every day. I can imagine, and I very well understand, because when I was a principal, I always walk in with a to-do list. And trust me, there was not a single day that I started with the first thing to do with, because there were always 10 things that were waiting for me. But again, I believe that it's the words that make your world. So there was, again, we worked on strategies, and we started writing on to victory logs, and where she had that kind of a eureka moment where she believed, okay, that what she was calling as putting out fires were really some level of wonderful administrative capacities and on the foot thinking, problem solving that she has in her, and she has been using them so effortlessly. But since she has been doing it far too long and far too wide, there is some exhaustion in her, and then she started realizing that she has been doing a good job. So that basic flip side of things happen, and that very same person starts feeling better about oneself. So that is one more thing which comes very closely to me. And when I talk about parents, they are trying really hard, but the kind of space that is given through coaching, they are able to internalize their emotions, process them, in fact reason out to themselves their own behavior. And when they reflect through, they realize themselves that where they kind of need to realign so that they are able to be a purposeful parent at home and a partner at home. And when with this clarity, when they start operating at home, obviously children start getting that level of open environment where you can mushroom and thrive. So if you look at it, this is enabling the entire process or entire system. And I guess education is the basic or the fundamental area where every, I may have never been in flying industry, I've never been in the sport industry, but everybody has been with the education industry. So if there the stakeholders are well aligned, well calibrated, there is a lot of difference that will make in the entire generations to come. So I believe that through coaching we are able to give in a lot of insights. Wherever there is some kind of you call it energy audit, where there is happening a leak of energy or there is a restoring of energy, this self-awareness, we are just living. We are less aware of ourselves. Bringing that awareness makes things much better. Now, having said that, I am not saying that the duties and the exhaustive list or the workload of any of the stakeholder reduces. The teachers still get rolling with what it is, the principals still are rushing with things, parents are still struggling. But changes is their, response to the demands. They are not exhausted. They don't feel depleted. They feel that they are a part of it, they get to do it and they enjoy doing it. So it basically is the response and the reaction, what we call. They are not reacting to the situations anymore. They are actually thoughtfully and intentionally responding to what is desired from the current scenario or whatever the job profile or whatever the roles they have to do this. Now, having said that, when we have empowered stakeholders in the school, we are definitely empowering students. And when we walk in as happy, aligned, clear, calm, trust me, these beautiful aspects are absorbed by the children faster than the lessons that are being taught. So can you imagine the level of outreach that one has? The level of outreach that aligned person can make, or what a difference a person can make in the classroom. So what I believe is that life coaching is a prospect that is not just something that can be or cannot be opted. I would prefer that it's like an investment you make to rebuild the human foundation. So this is what I look at it. Thank you so much.
Very nice, very nice. What do you say, how do you
I would like to add. Yeah. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I think it has been a very insightful speech from Shweta, enlightened us as well, because we are very oblivious to the parents and school. I mean, our children did go to school, but that was it. We did not venture further, but now with the clarity that we have got, we can also enhance that and focus on that parents as well as teachers as well as principals at the end of the day come with the same challenges in life as anybody else, and how we implement that makes a lot of difference. And the main purpose, the main way it starts with is having confidence and the courage to approach a life coach. The problem with a lot of people is they are so insecure within themselves that they're not wanting to face someone or to share their insights with someone or to make an approach saying that, oh, maybe she can help me with that. But if you don't open up, how can someone help you? So people have to start trusting the life coach, that we are able to understand, and yes, I will put forth my grievances or put forth my challenges and see where this takes me. For that, you have to give space and you have to be very open to a life coach. Be it a principal or be it a child or be it a single mother or be it a person working in the office, stress loads for everyone is equal. But trusting someone is a very big challenge in today's society, because a lot of people have so many problems. When you talk to someone very casually and we give them advice, they just take it and say, oh my God, this is what I was looking for the whole day. Like I had a friend of mine who was going through with post-delivery changes, and I just asked her one simple thing. How much do you know about self-love? Do you know what is self-love? She said, what? I said, self-love is looking at yourself. Be proud of being a mother of two, handling every situation. And every mother, be it whoever it is, it's a never-ending process. You are never a perfect mother. This is what we are told. No matter how much we do, we always feel we have left something out. And that's what makes us feel the guilt factor that we need to do something more to please. In that, we forget ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves or give us even 5 minutes to go out for a walk because we feel guilty. Oh my God, who's going to take care of my child? Oh my God, what will happen if I go for a shower, for a long shower or for a spa? And then you go like, oh my God, was my child fed? So all these insecurities come to you, but when you trust yourself with a life coach, the life coach actually channelizes it for you. Makes it sound difficult because they don't want to go through it, but when you actually implement it, you come and say thank you, because you receive like 20 messages saying, oh my God, you changed my day. Oh my God, you changed my life. This one little thing makes so much of an impact of that you are remembered for that little gesture, because you are trying to do your best for them. So I think it's a fabulous inside of the principal and the teachers, and how we sow the seeds for our coming up generations and give them the platform that they really need. For that we need confident, powerful and mentally stable people around. So great hearing from you, Shweta. Thank you so much.
Yes, Pragya, you can.
I would like to just talk about an incident. I was going to Delhi to World Book Fair for the launch of my book, and while on the train I met this lovely group of students, and they were in 8, 9, 10 standard, and they were with their teacher. Now this teacher happened to talk with me, we gelled well, we played cards also together, Uno khela humne, and it was a lovely journey. So this teacher was asking me, and now I want to ask that question to you, ma'am, that आपको आजकल के जो बच्चे हैं, young generation है, if you got an opportunity to coach them or basically guide them, what do you think about this generation? So what I told her was that this generation is way far ahead. They're very, very bright. They come with a built-up mechanism to handle things in a wonderful manner. But the thing what we need to be careful about is the choice that they make, because they are exposed to a lot of information, and this information, how to utilize it, or what to use and what not to use, and that choice matters a lot. And there is where a coach comes in picture, is what I said. And she did mention that she would like to have a session for the students of the school, where we guide students how to make wise choices, so that they make informed decisions, and things that should not happen in their life will not happen further. Now I want to hear from you, ma'am. What do you think about it, and how should coaching be benefited to students as well, and what kind of mechanism can be used?
I think if children start of a little, probably secondary or higher secondary students start looking at their life so seriously, and probably get to come and take a few sessions from a coach who understands that generation, they are just, we see the tip of the iceberg. They are an iceberg within, which can bring humongous and tremendous changes. And they are energetic, they are this thing. Only thing is, what I believe is, they need to be, as you say, rationalized. Channelized.
Yeah.
Rationalized, I say, because from the good, bad and the evil. Just because it's popular, just because it's common, just because it happens, it does not mean it is correct. So that, of course, again, right and wrong is also everybody's own definition. Resilience, the way that aptitude to visualize, be visionaries of how they can utilize the potential. They know what they have within themselves. They know what they have access to. They know it all. But having that kind of a vision to develop where they need to go is something where we can beautifully channelize them, help them, or in fact it is within them. It's all that we need to get from them. And every such child can make not only himself, his parents and everything, but the country proud. At the same time, we will have a resource and a foundation which will be well redeveloped and re-cemented for the years and years to come ahead. So it's all about that developing the resilience, being able to make rational decisions, being a visionary. And today entrepreneurship is just on fire. So you can do anything, and there are hundreds of new opportunities, thousands of new opportunities that are out.
Agree.
So being there, doing it, mastering it, and coming out with success is something that they can beautifully do. Thank you so much for that question.
Very beautiful. You want to add something? Yeah.
So as I just summarize what we are saying is about emotional grooming.
Yeah.
So the children are taught to wear uniform, do your hair properly, wear your shoes, everything is done. But do you stand in the mirror and ask what emotions am I going to carry today?
Yeah.
So emotional grooming
Mm.
should be part of, I think,
Curriculum. Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah. This should be
It is
included. Yeah.
emotional grooming.
In fact, it is, as I just
Yeah.
mentioned. As I just mentioned, the basic objective of education is to have a happy child.
Yeah.
That is the most beautiful emotion, which, I mean, as a teacher, I would always have, when I was taking the lower classes, I started as a kindergarten teacher, very bad in drawing, very bad. So I would manage it, beg, borrow, steal, karo, draw a beautiful teddy bear, some wonderful cartoon, which would wear a beautiful big smile.
Smile.
And I would wait for my child to enter the classroom. Make sure they
Yeah.
smile. They don't come in with a
Oh.
smile. There's a lot coming with
Yeah.
children are coming with the baggage.
Yeah.
Make sure they enter with a smile.
Wow.
Make sure they walk out with a smile. And this is something which I take pride when I say that not once, multiple times during my teaching life, I got this thing ki Shraddha ma'am, your children walk out with confidence.
Wow.
So I guess I made that makes
Beautiful.
my day, that makes my life, and
Good
I'm
job.
very good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah. The last thing is when Coach Shweta spoke about, that the teacher saying that I'm putting off fire every day. My work is like that. So that's where the life coaching principle of affirmations comes into picture. So you do the same job, but now you're changing the statement. I'm solving problems. So that statement of putting off fire has some negative emotion in it. It is going to release some negative chemicals in your body. But when you say I'm solving problems, it's going to empower you. You see, just affirmations
Yeah.
can shift
Yeah.
the entire
Exactly.
picture.
Beautiful coaches, you have done a good, very beautifully you all explained, you taught us everything. I hope everybody can take what these coaches have told today. So as we close this transformative gathering, remember, awareness is the first step, action is the bridge, and transformation is your destination. May you walk out today with renewed clarity, deeper confidence, and the courage to create the life you truly deserve. Together we created awareness. Together we will continue to transform lives. Thank you for being part of this beautiful journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dija.
Thank you.
Thank you.